here's my custom bicycle. The front tire on there is a 26 by 2.125, and it's on a 3-inch wide wheel. I laced it up with a Origin 8 hub, and I put a 110 millimeter disc on there. Couldn't go for just the regular diameter. I wanted a big one to help fill that wheel. So I wanted this to give this the classic bagger look with a big front tire and a small rear tire. So in the back, I have a 20 by 4-inch tire. These bags are functional. That's actually how you access the rear tire. I have these 2 knobs in here. You can just unscrew the clamp knobs and then pull it right off. And there's the back tire with mounting brackets. So that's a 20 by 4-inch bicycle tire. Put a 110 millimeter disc on the back as well. Thing looks beefy with that little tire back there. And that's that. Looks kind of funny without the bag on it, doesn't it? So the bags are complete units. Alright, let's see. Let's get this back on there. Oh, well, I have it off. You can actually see the back of one of the speakers. So those speakers on there are Boss speakers. They're, what were they? I think like 4-inch handlebar speakers. I took the pods off, drilled and cut holes on my fiberglass, and then screwed them on from the back, so you still have the chrome rings. That way it kind of matches the GPS with the chrome ring here and the Boss head unit as well. That's a marine grade head unit, so it's waterproof, or at least they claim that. Figured on a bike, even though I don't want to get this wet, because then it's hard to clean, it might. You never know, you're on a bike. Weather changes fast and you're pedaling, you're not that fast. So get this bag put back on here. Clamp that. Alright, let's see the other side now. The other side, it's not a whole lot different, but you notice the first thing, this bag is a lot skinnier on the inside. So this is actually a 24-speed bike. So for the rear derailleur to have room, I had to make this bag a little skinnier. And I made it on the inside, I made it skinnier, so that way on the outside it looks the same and it looks like a regular motorcycle with a single centered rear tire. If I knock that off, you can see some of my taillight wiring. I had masking tape there. I couldn't think of a better thing at the time. I wanted it running, so it's kind of hanging down, but whatever. Seems to be doing fine. So there's the Schwinn, Shimano Altus derailleur. It's for 8 speeds. So I got 8 speeds on there. Look at all them gears. And then if you go into the back, down underneath here, you can see this box is the GPS, and the other one with the strip is my FM radio. That's actually getting a little loose. I'm gonna have to fix that. Used the regular adhesive that came with it off Amazon, and this is the first time I'm checking it out in a couple months, so probably have to put a little glue on there. All right, let's get this bag back on here. All these washers and everything. fall way down there. So, had to adjust the derailleur last time I took it out. After it had been a few miles of riding it, and the cable had finally stretched a little bit, so it should be settled in where it's at. But I take this off a few times and adjust it and then keep rolling. And my buddy asked if it was a pain in the ass to keep taking it off. Well, kind of is a little bit of an annoyance, but it's quick, it's easy, and it looks badass. They're actually somewhat functional as well, because they're made out of fiberglass, but you notice they're really thick. So inside, I built them and shaped them using insulation foam, the pink stuff you get from Home Depot. And I'd cut it horizontally, that way I could keep everything in straight lines, and cut each layer out for the inside of the bags and everything. And then on the inside, I lined them with high impact polystyrene, 63 thousandths. So it's plastic essentially, and caulked all the corners. So you could actually use these as coolers as well. And that was kind of one of the cool things I thought about doing this. The paint's pretty cool, but not too happy with it. I used a rattle can, and these parts are kind of big to be rattle cannon. So it didn't come out as good as I'd hoped. Maybe I can do that again in the future. There's a few spots. For instance, I don't know if you can see this right here. I don't know what's going on there, but it looks splotchy, like something's coming through from the back almost. So I don't know if I can fix that with give it a nice wet sand and a little buff, or a nice little wet sand, and then maybe spray another coat and some clear over it. It is getting some chips from moving around the garage and stuff, and scraping the bags here and there occasionally. So it'll need some paint in the future anyway. Notice that stripe down the back, I airbrushed that in there. And the silver that you see here is actually the same silver that's under here that makes this look candy. This is a transparent red. Let's get this, see if it can focus. It's actually a transparent red that's over this silver, which is Toyota, Duplicolor Toyota Millennium Silver. You'll notice it got scales. Camera doesn't want to pick them up that well. All the way down the tail. There we go, you can kind of see them now. Bottom, right up here, this would have been all hollow, but I want to make sure it's strong and also looked pretty good. So I did the same thing with the bottom, welded a plate on there, and also stretched it out. You can see where I welded in the new pieces. It would have had a cutout right here, that's why it has this kind of funny shape right here, but I didn't like that. I wanted it solid, so there it is. And I welded on some brackets to mount this headlight, the Harley Davidson style mount. The rest of the frame is all made by me, custom to fit this idea. The tube comes straight down here, all the way to the back where it meets up. On the neck, I wanted it pretty strong. One tube I didn't think was gonna be enough, so I just welded two together and welded them on here. That way it's got a little bit more of a bearing surface on that neck. For the forks, they were the original Stingray forks, so there's still some scratches and stuff on here. I just polished them up. They were rusted, they were old. I got them from a guy, the whole bike, and it was not brand new. It looked like I'd been run over by a car. So I straightened out what I could and got everything cleaned up before I took it apart, just to make sure I could. So then down here, it would have had a bracket coming out like this, and I didn't want the wheel hanging way out here. I wanted it in line with my forks to help with the trail, so that way it handled good. My last one, I put it ahead, and it's a little twitchy. It's a little too much, it's a little, actually, negative trail, too much negative trail. So this one I put them straight in line with the forks, welded on my own plates that I made here, and the inside as well to stiffen it up so it's not hollow, it's not opened up in the end here. And then I also welded on this bracket for the disc brake caliper. Now it fits that wide tire. I also shortened them down a bit. Took quite a few inches off there, probably 4 or 5 inches off of there to move it up and get that nice low look so it flows from the front to the back. Then the next things I did was the fiberglass. That's the main visual impact of this bike, the fiberglass. So for the back end, this fender, did this one first just to get the wheel covered and figure out where I could work from. So this was molded over a steel fender from a motorcycle. It was for a, I believe a 21-inch wheel. So if you saw with the bags off, the curve is a little more gentle than it is with the wheel. And that way it's tucked. It got about a 1/4 inch gap between the tire right here, but then it's nice. So that way it kind of looks like it's slammed because that radius doesn't match what it would take to get to the ground. And then I also stretched it out afterward. I built a foam tail for it, sanded it down, and wrapped that with the fiberglass as well. So it's one nice piece. And then I added these little fillets in here just to fill the gaps between the fender and the saddlebags. And then on the top, you'll see this little piece. This is part of the saddlebag. I did that way when it's off, you can access everything, and then when you put it on, you can it covers that gap, because then right in here is where the fender mounts are. So you gotta have access to them to remove the fender. Then after I had that made, I made the saddlebags. Got the rear end all squared up and looking good, and then I moved to the front. So the front, I actually made it out of a piece for the lower end first. I made that. Looked silly, and I was imagining the top, but I made that bottom piece first, and that way I could work out the mounts and everything for it. So it's got a lid too, that way I wouldn't have to separate stuff. So this knob right here is the clamp that holds it shut, and then you can open it up. And then you can see there's the mount. So I add some steel right back here in this hole here. There's a screw. There's another one right underneath the middle under here, and that's where it screws down to the frame.
I'm Sabrina with First Western Bank and Trust, and we want to wish all students and teachers
and then once I had that done, put the foam in there, and then put a nice piece of 1/4 inch wood from side to side to stiffen the two up. So the wood is the only thing from here to here, and the steel that's underneath it. But otherwise you have the foam on either side that's pretty much epoxied right to that wood. And then I wrapped that as one big piece of fiberglass. And then once I had that done, I did the lid. There you kind of see the pink foam. I had to cut it out to clear the bus bar here. But I built the whole top out of the pink foam, wrapped the outside, cleaned most of it out of the inside, set this lip here to keep it rigid because there's not much shape in there, it's flat. So I left some foam in there to keep it nice and rigid, and then I wrapped the inside as well. Now I did this lid specifically to mold with the rest of the bike, the bagger, give it some meat so it wasn't just that skinny little frame. But then I also wanted to hide all these electronics, obviously. I didn't want to put them in the bags. Wanted them up here. I don't know why, I just did. So you can see what I got going on. So everything starts with these batteries. There's two. They are LiPo, so they're lithium polymer batteries that are 8,000 mAh, 4S LiPos.
I certainly was.
So 8,000 mAh, that's 8 amp hours. So between the two of them, I have 16 amp hours. Those two batteries are run in parallel.
This is your daily pep talk.
So that way, or maybe series, I can never remember the verbiage. But they run that way, so that way it doubles the capacity and not the amperage. So I have it running at 12.5 volts, so it's similar to a motorcycle. And that's what I use this little buck for. What this buck does is it regulates the power. So 12.5 volts is what it's set for out, and right now that's the amperage it's actually using. So with the radio and the lights going, it doesn't use much. So 8 amp hours right now would get me about 16 with the 8 and 8, 16, 1 amp. I'd get about 16 hours of life out of those batteries right now, which is pretty good. If you turn up the radio, you'll watch the amps go up.
That we would do something I didn't know would ever be like this.
So that's why it's moving around too, because it's got the bass, the drums, and all that. So it's constantly changing with the music. Let's see. So that then powers all the electronics, and this is like the main power distribution right here. This feeds this, and then once you get in here, I have 6 different circuits, and then also all the relays. So yeah, those aren't just for looks. I actually made that label to match what was in it. So see, I got the winkers. I got the blinkers from China, and they called them winkers. I thought that was funny, so I went with it. Then we got the horn, the lights. So all the lights, the running lights and everything are all in that 1.5 amp. We got the amplifier, the radio, and the speedometer. And then because of the amount of power they would use, I put some relays in for some of them. And that's for the horn, the right winker, left winker, amp, and main power. And I have those all going through there because I did not want them running through my power switches. I did not know how much amps it was actually going to use before I did it. I'm not an electrical engineer, I'm a fabricator. So I wanted to play it safe and make sure that I didn't melt my switches down and all that business. So the switches literally just turn on the relays. Then we've got our amplifier. I forget how much that is. It's like I don't know, maybe a 400 watt. I can't remember. Maybe the 470. But you can see right there, it's the MC470B by Boss. So that's actually what's powering the speakers. The radio feeds that. That feeds the speakers. That way I can get a little more sound out of there, some better quality. And then that's what most of these wires is. You got your blue, which is your speaker wires. You got your power wires. You got your speaker wires, or sorry, all the power wires for all the different pieces up here on the lid. And that's all these wires are. You also have the main power switch that feeds through there. But nothing significant, just a whole lot of wires though, huh? So there's the antennas that come from the GPS, which this is your GPS right here. A couple wires, you got your ground, your negative, your light, your amp, your antenna. And then you got the back of the head unit, which is a Boss Marine grade, so it should be waterproof. Like I said before, cut all the speaker wires because it's not feeding the speakers. So it is run with the pre-outs to the amplifier. Let's see, we got auxiliary inputs. I think it's even got like a USB somewhere in here. I don't know, I'm not using that. And then we got the back of those speakers. They came with that amp. And then here you'll see the back of 2 switches. So this one's actually not a switch. This one's my gauge that shows me what the voltage is and amperage that I'm using. So it's the actual battery voltage that one shows. So it looks funny on the camera because of the frame rate, but 15.3 right now. So those batteries fully charged are 16.8. Empty, they're around 13. I don't want them to get them lower than 13. Lower than 13 can actually hurt this. So that way I have that gauge showing the actual battery output and this showing what the system's running on. And that way the one I see is the one that matters. Don't want to kill those batteries. Then you get fire and all that, who knows what. Then I got a whole bunch of wires. You can see them all in here. There's probably like, I think 20 wires or so coming out the front of this. That goes up through here to the lights, the handlebars, and all the switches. So that's mainly wires for your high and low beams. Also got your blinker, your left and your right, and a horn. Woo! Yep, she works. Over here is the headlight switch. This is the main light switch. So you turn this on, you get all your lights. Turn it off, they're all off. So on, then I got my low beam. Right now, what's on? Let's see. High is low beam. Yep. So right now my low beam's on, and I should have all my running lights. So if you look, the headlight's on, low beam. Got my 2 markers, and then in the rear, I also have my tail lights on. So just to show you that the high beam is actual functional. Oh wait, high was on. So there's high beam, there's low beam. So you can see it better at night, obviously. So this light was another cheap one I found from China. It's LEDs, got a whole bunch of them in there. Thought mainly the only reason I liked it was 1, because it was LED, so low power, and 2, I loved the shape of it with this lip on the top here and the bullet look. And then I got these separate. These side markers, they were not intended for this. They're intended to mount on a different style headlight mount that goes back to the bars and stuff, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted the Harley one because that matched this light. So then I just drilled holes and mounted these right to the light. It actually worked out pretty well. I love the look of it. It's kind of like a weird spaceship or something. I don't know. Kind of neat. So then all the main wires go into the headlight bucket. And then in there is where I have a few plugs. I got like an 18-pin plug, a couple 10-pin plugs, and that way I could still take the handlebars off separate. I could take the headlight off separate. I can get this down to 1 unit, and that way you can take it all apart without actually cutting wires again, because why would you want to cut wires? I made this so if I had to, I could work on it. Then while we're up here on the handlebars, you'll also see I've got the 8-speed shifters. I did the shifter brake combination units, so see there, you can shift, and then you got the brake. Same on this side. This is the 3-speed, so this is the front and the brake. And I put some rearview mirrors on it because I got some crud on there. I'm gonna have to clean up. I don't know what the heck that is, but that looks funny. Anyways, yep, rearview mirrors. So that way I can see behind me. Because when you're kind of stretched out, leaning on that, ooh, there's the phone. You can't really see over your shoulder too well. So there we go. Put them on there. Again, use these mounts here. This one's right on the switch. This one's got its own over here. And then these handlebars, you can see some minor scratches and stuff in there. These were actually from a Schwinn cruiser, and they were a kid's cruiser for I think it was a 20-inch bicycle. They looked like the classic Schwinn style, but for kids. So they're kind of narrow. They're not as wide as the adult ones, I don't think. I could be completely wrong. I've never really seen the adult one, but I liked them on here. And they were rusted and brown, and they'd been scratched up, so I cleaned them up, got all the rust off, polished them again. Most of the chrome was still good, so I figured keep that, a little bit of the history of this bike on there, and it still looks good. Why not? And then the original mounts that came with the Stingray are up here. Originally, this whole thing would have been closer back here because the whole it shifted when I welded that in. But with the way they kick back, the steering is very nice right now. You're not swinging too far side to side. You're actually turning. It's nice and, I guess, easy to turn. It doesn't really steer itself. I've got the right amount of trail in there. And that's right there, you can see. If you follow that head tube down, sat on a flower over here. But you can see that trail. If you follow this head tube down, it goes right about where that will touch the ground. So got a little bit of trail in there, not a lot, and that way it makes it easier to steer. So then I didn't want the horn to be easily seen. So that's mounted right under the fork. That way it's facing forward. So everyone in front of you can hear you when you're honking, get out the way, because you're cruising so dang fast, pedaling, right? Nah, but that way it's there, people can hear. It's not too loud to the person hitting it, and it's relatively hidden when you look at the bike. It doesn't stand out. You got the chrome horn too, so it fit with everything else. So let's close this guy back up. Now, while I'm clamping this down here, you'll notice I have this streamer. That's actually so my wheel stays straight and it doesn't crush the tank. If you look, it's not actually touching the ground because that kickstand lifts it up a little bit. That way it's got a nice firm position. So you can pull this pin out and it acts as like a steering lock. So now you can turn it, and I didn't want it hitting the tank like that all the time, but you can rest it there right now and you can kind of see what I have going on here. So here I just drilled a hole through the top and bottom plates, and that way it guides the pin, keeps it straight, and then I welded this little ear on here with a hole for that pin. And what that does is it locks it so it stays straight. So I put it on there, it's kind of like a key. You got to pull it to go. Where is it now? It's weird with my left hand. There we go. Alright, so I did replace all the bearing caps and seals and everything on the head tubes. They're all brand new, chrome looking. Same with the nut on top. Then I put a nice little cap on here. So that way it's not just a hollow looking tube. Finishes it off really well. And then used Shimano cranks. They're long ones, I don't remember the measurement, but they're the longer ones. There's two sizes. These ones are like 5 or 10 millimeters longer than most, which they're the long ones. I like them. Gives you more leverage on the pedals so you can haul ass. And then there's my Shimano turning derailleur as well. So the chain is KMC, I think, X-links. Those things are what they're called. And there's actually 2 of them. They're standard mountain bike length, 2 put together with 3 links removed to get the proper length for this. So, if you look, it's kind of funny. This chain is going way down in relation to the back hub, right? So how is that a thing, and how does it stay on sagging like that? Well, it's not really sagging that much. As you see here, I added this, so that way when the chain moves, it can ride on that. And then I also, that way it keeps it off the frame here, and there's no limit for side to side. Right now it's on the low gear, so it's all the way in anyway, but it can move side to side. You can see the wear on here, where usually when I'm pedaling, it's riding somewhere in this range in my normal gear. And then if you look way up there, there's another one. So what that one does is that one keeps it from hitting the seat. So same concept, spins, but you'll notice that right now the spot where she normally rides is bare. And it's actually worn through that grip. That one has all the tension when you're pedaling, and it wore through the rubber. Probably just end up leaving it as it is. But these pieces right here are steer tubes off a kid's bike. So that is that. Figure that way they got nice big bearings and races. They were free, I already had them. Got the nice chrome on here. And then I used the stems, cut the handlebars off, slid a hand grip over it, and that way I can adjust wherever, how far, how long it is. And then I shortened them up once I got this. That was actually max volume there for a second. I could turn it up by adjusting the volume here, but I adjusted it so that way when I crank it, there's no distortion. So I turned it down until this at max was distortion. I don't use these because they have a slight delay, and while you're riding, that's annoying. Nice little knob, quick turn it, adjust it, and you're on your way. And then, like I said, I got this GPS speedometer in here. So you can see 16 miles, so that's your odometer. So that's 16 miles since I built this. I want to put more on, but building a lot of things this summer, so didn't get as many. Today, that was just today right there. That's your trip, so that's the last time power was cut. So that's today, 1.9 miles. Here it's got a compass, which that will actually go to whichever direction you're heading. Right now it's at north, just because I'm not moving. 0 degrees. Obviously is my heading, because I'm not moving. These are not real, they're airbrushed on there as well. Figured I had to tell you, because they look so damn good, don't they? Yeah. And then the radio, switched out the lighting inside it, so now it's red, so it matches the bike. It was originally blue. I don't know why I couldn't find anybody that made one that was red. This has a red light on it as well. So, red lights, goes with that, goes with this, and in there. It's kind of too light to see it well right now, but they all light up red to match the bike. I almost said bicycle. Did you catch that? Yeah, once you're riding it, sitting on it, it's pretty comfy. Got a little bit of vibration out of the saddlebags on the bottom of the brackets where there's the big plate down at the bottom. I made that to put some reinforcement up behind it, so that way the bags hang and the weight wants them to lean in, so it's not all on the hangers. And I never put my shit on the bottom, so when I hit bumps now they go because now they are just hanging on the hangers. But I got to put some rubber under there so they'll be nice and smooth, and they'll be able to handle lots of weight because it won't all be on a piece, it'll be resting on that bracket. So if you'll notice my speedometer, I saw they had a few of these that had needles, and I thought that'd be cool, have a needle on here just like a car. But the reason I ended up going with the digital one, I don't like the face of it as much, but it does show your heading, which is handy when you're on a bike. You know, if you're going around through the middle of nowhere and you're heading down a dirt road, it's nice to know which direction you're going so you can find home. And also because it's 0.0, so that point and 0, it tells you exactly what you're going. Come on, it's a bike. Again, bicycle. Not powered, so if it was 0 to 40, it would move like this and it wouldn't really be that accurate for me. But that tells me exactly what I'm doing, so it makes it pretty accurate. So now if you look at this, you'll see it's got the it's got Bluetooth, waterproof, 60 watt, not using that, and it's the MGR 350B. Seems to work pretty good. The Bluetooth works good. The reason I got this radio at all, because it didn't even need it, because the amp actually has Bluetooth as well, so I could Bluetooth directly to the amp. But with the radio, now I have a radio channel. Again, because I'm in the middle of nowhere, my cell phone don't work that great. So with this, I can still have music. Has the EQ, got a couple presets. Yeah. Wow, and I've been listening to this one, right? Nice. So just like a car, you can cycle through your presets. This one comes in the best, plus it's rock. Who doesn't like rock, right? Alright, now the blinkers. This switch here, this little rocker, if I rock it left, now you'll see my left blinker blinking. Yeah. Same on the back. Does the same thing for the right. And then off. That was actually a pain in the butt wiring that up, because they're running the running lights. The back ones I think are better quality than the front, because the back actually have like a circuit board and shit in there. The front are actually just three-way light LED bulbs that are hooked up in there, and they're was some kind of feed where they were feeding back through each other. So the blinkers I couldn't figure out for like, it took me a day chasing wires and stuff. I found I had a wire backwards. Well, there's 16 of them. It's easy to mix up. And then also found that it was back feeding. So I had to wire 2 diodes, one on each, so that way it doesn't feed back into the system, and they would actually work independently and the running lights would still work. The back needed no special treatment, just your 3 wires hooked up, and it worked perfectly. Those were actually pretty expensive. They were, well, comparatively. So they're meant for a motorcycle too, but obviously a better quality motorcycle than whatever these Chinese ones were meant for, I guess. Man, that's about it. Custom built, man. Took me about 6 months of welding and sanding and fiberglassing and painting to get this sucker done to where you see it now. And I think it was worth it. I think it looks pretty good. It's easy to ride. The trail, like I said, is perfect, so it handles good. With the 24 speeds, you always have a speed. And if you're in a higher speed, you can find it's hard to start. But if you got a low speed, you can get started. Once you get going, you can shift 24 times. And the highest I've gotten this yet, which I haven't been trying too hard, but on a flat ground without a tailwind, I got it up to 15 miles an hour, which might not seem like a lot, but I weigh about 190 and this bike weighs about 115. So that's me pedaling about 300 pounds down the road. So not too bad. You wouldn't think it's possible, but I guess it is, man. Gotta have them speeds. That's about it. Got nothing else to say here. So hope you enjoyed it. That was my walkthrough on this Schwinn Stingray bagger. Bam. See you next time.